This episode is brought to you by Blue Door Financial. Blue Door Financial will help you save money and reduce taxes to live a fuller financial life. To learn more, visit Blue Door Financial online at BLUdoorfinancial.com. That's BLUdoorfinancial.com. This episode is brought to you by the Lackawanna College Venture Lab. You can build NEPA's next big startup with the help from the Lackawanna College Venture Lab. Designed to help entrepreneurs build micro enterprises, the Venture Lab lets dreamers develop small-scale businesses from the ground up. Network with the lab's experts or your fellow entrepreneurs in a new co-working space at Lackawanna's Scranton campus and apply for a zero-interest microloan while you're there. You can even print 3D prototypes of your new product in their fabrication center. Pretty cool, right? To make your business dreams a reality, visit lackawanna.edu/venturelab or email venturelab@lackawanna.edu. Hi, I'm Bill Corcoran Jr., and I'm your host for the On the Stacks podcast. Today, I'm chatting with entrepreneur, artist, and author Kristy Rice. What's up, podcast episode 86 of the On the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door studio. Welcome to the show, Kristy. How are you?
I'm good. Oh my gosh, this is so cool.
So this, from what I understand, you've done a ton of podcasts. We talked a little bit recently, but this is your first in-person podcast in like a bazillion other shows you've been on.
Yeah, this is wild to me because I'm like face to face with a real human talking about stuff. So it's cool.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to have you here. You're extremely talented, and entrepreneur, mom, author, celebrity invitation designer, stylist, painter, all around creator in general.
All the things.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't even, where do we even start? What came first? Art, entrepreneurship, and how did the two come together?
Oh my gosh. Well, definitely the art for sure. My first memory is literally just watching PBS and Bob Ross, and I can't remember the dude that used to do calligraphy on PBS, but I was obsessed with watching people make art on TV, and my mom would buy me all the kits to do calligraphy, and then I was just drawing and painting on anything I could find. So that's kind of like my first memory.
How old were you?
Like 6. Yeah.
Very young.
Really young, but it's a very distinct memory of just sitting on the floor, hanging out with Bob, I
was wondering if Bob was like an inspiration or what?
Like subtly. And it's funny now, Bob Ross has made like this like reappearance in my life in a strange way. When I became active on TikTok over the last year, people started just randomly calling me the Bob Ross of watercolor.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, you have no idea the connection I have with Bob Ross. Then I almost kind of forgot about it, that's where this all started was with Bob. So, yeah.
Wow. So all right. So Bob Ross of watercolor. You do a lot of different things from, the watercolor. You have your own brushes on Amazon now.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of stuff. We'll talk about all that. But all right. So take me through it. So you started painting, at 6 years old, and what did you do once you kind of graduate? Went on to college. We went to Penn State. So
I did.
Shout out. We are
Penn State.
Yeah. Then what?
So, my mom put me in art lessons. She knew I had something going on. I took right to that. I mean, all through middle school, high school, I became an assistant teacher at Sue Hands here locally. Sue Hands Imagery, shout out. And really just immersed myself in art from that moment forward. So from 6 years old on, I knew that was my life. I knew that's what I was meant to do, which is such a blessing and a privilege to know that so early on. Went to college for art education, and because it was like the sensible thing to do, because, I thought I could get a job easily. That's cute. And, did the college thing and just painted my way through college. Graduated, tried to get a teaching job. That didn't happen. Started working in retail. But I was still painting every day, creating every day. Got married, still working in retail, but actually finding out that I really loved, I started getting sent to all the stores in our district. We were in New York at the time, and they would have me like make all the stores pretty. Basically, like, styling the stores and making sure everything looked to spec.
What store did you say?
Bath and Body Works.
Oh, okay.
I started at Victoria's Secret here locally, got married, moved away to New York, and then switched to Bath and Body Works. At the time, they were both limited corp. And yeah, I loved merchandising. And, you know, I had to like be a manager and do all that stuff to, you know, get a paycheck. But I was known in the district, like, this is the girl that can make your store look amazing. And so I started doing that and running all they call them floor sets. And, you know, that's when you have a team come in like second shift, and that's when you switch over the store for the different holidays, the different whatever. I loved that. And so I think at that point I realized, yeah, I'm a painter. Yeah, I love watercolor, all that stuff. But there's this other layer to what I can do. And it has to do with like product somehow. And so that's where the other kind of layer of my artistry started, was really with Bath and Body Works and retail and merchandising.
So when you said like you were going to get a job, and before you said that, like you said that you always knew that this is what you wanted to do, but did you ever think that you would actually, you know, be doing this and own your own business? And you have multiple businesses, but did you ever think that it would be this?
No, I don't know what I thought it would be. I actually do know what I thought it would be. I thought I would be a teacher. What's that movie? Oh my gosh, I'm going to age myself here right now. But Gloria Estefan was like a teacher, and she got her job got removed and whatever. She was a music teacher. And I was going to be a teacher like that. I was going to be the cool art teacher that inspired all these kids, and they'd come back to me when they had graduated college and tell me how I changed their lives. That's who I thought I was going to be. But I'm actually I'm doing that, but I'm just doing it in a different way. I'm doing it through YouTube. I'm doing it through TikTok. I'm doing it through Instagram. So I never thought I would be running a wedding business, making invitations, developing product, writing books. No, that was not on my radar.
Yeah.
No.
So what happened after retail?
So while in retail, I realized, okay, I love doing all this stuff, but I want to figure out something that I can be self-sustainable. You know, I can run my own business, run my own life, because retail's tough, man. Like, you're at the mercy of, you know, holiday hours and night shifts and all that junk. You know what I mean? Like,
and retail customers.
And customers. Yeah. It's a hard life. It really is. Like, I honestly believe that when you go to college, you should have to work in retail for one semester, at least one. I really do, because it teaches you so much about life and about people and about how to be a good person in this world. I really do. Anyway, side note. But yeah, so I wanted more flexibility. I didn't want to have to work Christmas Eve. I didn't want to have to do that kind of stuff. So I was like, well, what kind of business can I do? You know, I had created my own wedding invitations. It's not a unique story. A lot of invitation designers, they get married, they create their wedding invitations. They like the process of it, so they go and start a business. That's my story. And that's how it started. I started developing logos on my lunch break at Bath and Body, and started picking up, you know, word of mouth kind of business. You know, my sister's getting married, my friend's getting married. Did a lot of free stuff. And got a lot of projects under my belt, just, you know, on my off hours. I was working full time, retail, paying the bills, but, you know, all of my extra hours, I was making wedding invitations. And at that time, I was literally hand drawing. If there was a hydrangea on the invitation, I drew the outline of the hydrangea 100 times, painted in the hydrangea 100 times, and so on and so forth. So that was before I didn't really know the technical stuff. You know, I didn't really know like about scanning and reproduction and all that. So it was pretty, I don't know, intense back then.
And you said free. You were doing this like for something for free.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, definitely. I think I had a very much like the marketing PR mind. That was a instinctual in me from very early on. I knew that I had to put myself out there. I knew that I had to lay down like emotional and physical labor at my cost to propel myself. I just knew that in my soul, and I still believe that. That's still a thing. And so early on, if I met someone and I loved their aesthetic, I loved their vibe, I knew they were going to have a stylish event, I would do it for free.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And you also mentioned the retail, like what the things that you learned in retail and the people, what were some of those things?
Well, I won't mince words because that's not how I roll. But the thing is, you learn how to deal with really difficult people who are often, at their lowest. Because let's face it, why do people shop in places like Bath and Body Works, Victoria's Secret? It's all luxury stuff, but it's accessible luxury. And so you're dealing with a lot of people who are like giving themselves some retail therapy. And there's a reason that they're in there and they need this retail therapy. So I found that I was dealing with people at their lowest, at their most vulnerable sometimes. And I loved being able to figure out what those people needed from me. I wasn't just their cashier. I wasn't just the person trying to make my ADS for the night, average dollar sale. I was kind of like a psychotherapist, or is that a thing? Is that a word? Did I just make up a word?
I don't know.
But I think you get where I'm going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, you were like these people's therapists.
Yeah. Honestly, it was like a bartender, but for retail.
And you
therapy.
just built relationships with these people and just learned about people.
Absolutely. And I'm so grateful for that whole, I was in it for 7 years and I wouldn't trade a moment of it because it taught me so much.
All right. So then what happened? What was your exit from retail?
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a good story. It usually is with people that work in retail.
Yeah. I'm pretty cautious when it comes to money. I'm not terribly fearless when it comes to money. So my exit was slow and steady. I just kept cutting my hours. I went part-time, became like a key holder, which was like still a manager, but not quite. And then I went I went out of the management position, but was like working like 30 hours. So I really stepped down slowly. But at the point where I made my true exit, I was just beyond busy. It was still just me. I hadn't invested in any type of employee yet. And so I looked at the numbers. I had enough forthcoming work for the next like year and a half. And I was like, okay, it's time to leap. Gotta go because I knew I couldn't continue to invest 40 plus hours a week in this demanding job and build a business. There's no way. Those two things are like polar opposites of one another. So I leapt.
And then what happened?
Oh my gosh. So I just really hit the pavement. I decided at that point, I didn't even have a website. I was still just word of mouth. So I built a website. I'm going to age myself in Microsoft front page. Okay. Really bad. Really, really bad. Built it myself. And because I knew I needed more business, I knew I needed insurance because I had just left my source of income. So I built the site. I learned about SEO, search engine optimization. It's the lifeblood still of what we do. And so within about 3 months, I had the site built. It was terrible. People thought it was cool. I'm old. And I was first page ranking on Google for handmade wedding invitations. That was my search term. I dominated that for over a decade. And then it evolved. I reached out and branched out. But yeah, I built the site, got on the front page of Google, stayed there, and just took as much work as I could.
That's really impressive.
Yeah. So that's what I did.
Yeah, that is seriously really impressive to be ranked like that on Google for.
I was shocked.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. I was still shocked when I do a incognito search and there I am, front page. Okay, cool.
Kristy Rice. That's me.
Yeah.
So at that time, what was the company? Like what was the company name?
Yeah, so it's Momental Designs. It is still Momental. I broke the cardinal rule of naming a business with that because it's an easily mispronounced name. So a lot of people call it Monumental, which is like, okay, it's okay because that's still cool.
Yeah,
At least it's not like mispronounced to sound like, profanity or something. But
Monumental. It sounds big.
Yeah, it sounds big and impressive. So whatever. But it's Momental. I always say it's the word moment with an A-L on the end. And that is still our name. And we are 19 years in. I can't even believe that.
How did you come up with the name?
So there was this I cannot remember the name of the site. It no longer exists. It was like a random name generator site. It was was right around 2002 where I started playing around with this idea. I didn't officially become in business until 2003. You could type in adjectives that you felt your business embodied. And you could type in all sorts of stuff. They asked you all sorts of qualifying information. And then you hit like generate. And it gave you this list of actual words and non-words. And at the time, Momental wasn't even a word. It was like a non-word according to this site. And it just struck me. I love that it had the word moment in it. I love that it was it wasn't a word at that point. I think it's since become a word. I don't know how that happens.
Thanks to you.
Oh yeah. Well, cool. But that's how I came up with the name.
You started doing wedding invitations, and who are some of the types of clients you work with?
Oh my heavens. Okay. So, we've done it all. We've had our celebrities. And honestly, though, the bread and butter of our clientele are folks that prioritize really incredible stationery. They are the folks that look everywhere and, quote, cannot find anything they like. We work with other artists, folks that are extremely creative, but we also work with individuals that are very right-brained, the mathematical side, that really admire art and artists, but could never do it themselves. So, but we've done celebrities. We did Sean Parker's wedding. He was the Napster, Napster dude. Napster dude and the Facebook VP for a while.
When did he get married?
He got married in 2013, July of 2013. And his event basically swallowed up over a year of my life, quite literally. It was a massive undertaking. At one point, we had hired 10 temporary designers. We had to fly someone to Big Sur because it would get one aspect of their order to them 2 hours earlier than UPS could deliver. So they flew us out to deliver it 2 hours earlier, which I love telling that story. It's so
interesting.
Fun. Mm-hmm. And, we made stuff that they paid for their event and didn't end up using. That's the kind of craziness of that particular project. It was so immersive, but at the same time, so much of it was disposable. So it was really interesting experience as an artist to go through.
Did you work with him directly?
No, never.
Why not?
There were a few moments where I thought, oh my gosh, this is it. I'm going to have to get on the phone with Sean Parker. But when you're an individual at that caliber in terms of, business owner, net worth, all the things, you don't do all the parts of your life yourself. You just don't. He's got a housekeeper, he's got a personal assistant times 4, so you go through the chain of command. There were a couple points where it was close. He was very emotionally invested in paper. He loved this piece of his wedding. This was his shtick. This was his deal. And I loved that. That was really inspiring. But just the same, I never spoke to him personally ever.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Is it like that with a lot of the celebrities you work with?
Celebrities, all of them. I've never spoken to a celebrity, but we've never, but we've.
And how many have you worked with?
Well, we've had various of different levels. Sean Parker. We did Jessica Simpson's wedding. We did Alexis Bledell's wedding from Gilmore Girls. That was very low key, very DL. She's very humble. She did not want her event in the media. We've done a lot of A-list, sports people, but don't ask me their names because I don't remember them because I don't do sports. We've done a lot of celebrity in terms of, the owner of the Knicks, that kind of stuff, Real Housewives, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
What was one of the Desperate Housewives we didn't actually end up producing, but we designed prototypes for her. What is it, Eva Longoria? Is that was one. Yeah. And then, the tennis. Who's the tennis woman? I'm so bad.
I'm bad with names.
I'm so bad. Oh my gosh. I don't know. We designed prototypes for her event a few years back. She loved us, but because of timing ended up going with something pretty much out of the box. which was such a bummer. But anyway, I digress.
So you do like a lot of like really custom stuff.
Yeah.
Like what? Take me through it.
Okay. So, basically our couples will come to us with a vision, and they will say, they might bring us a swatch of fabric. Jessica Simpson literally shared a screenshot from the modern version of Great Expectations, the movie with Ethan Hawke and was it Uma Thurman? No, Gwyneth Paltrow. Shared a screenshot from that film and was like, make that an invite, And so, the work that we do, I was just talking with a client today, and I tried to express to them, like, is very intricate. We are very much involved in the emotional side, the emotional beginnings of wedding planning, because it's chaos. Our couples come to us, ton of inspiration. They're pulling from Pinterest. They're pulling from movies. They're pulling from art in their homes, maybe something their grandmother loved and that is an heirloom that they treasure. I mean, it could be anything. Their dog. I'm not kidding you. Like, the inspiration comes from so many places, but it's our job to distill that into something that we can then translate onto paper. And that is a difficult job, but we love it.
So where do you personally find inspiration?
Oh my Lord. Everywhere. I love traveling. The pandemic was especially hard for me because I love to travel. I love to just pick up, even though I have 2 kids, we would just pick up and go.
Where to?
Oh my gosh. I feel like Isle of Skye for a week. I did an editorial there. Iceland. I spent like 16 days in Iceland. Italy. We spent 3 weeks in Italy a couple years back. We were in my last trip before the pandemic. I did a full-blown editorial for The Knot. And it was amazing. It was a same-sex couple who decided they were just going to be our models. And they decided, oh, no, we're going to get married. We're going to turn this shoot into our wedding. And that was in the Netherlands. So we got to go to the Netherlands during tulip season. And so we did the shoot. I traveled with some of my wedding besties, and we made this beautiful event happen. And then I got to travel around and tiptoe through the tulips, literally. So that was one of our last trips. We have a second home in Utah that we love so much. We go there at least 3 times a year, and we spend 3 weeks at a clip out there. And so we're big hikers. So I think for me, inspiration is about movement. I cannot sit still. My brain can't sit still. My body can't sit still. Like, I've got to keep moving. So for me, even when I can't travel, so during the pandemic, I had to get out, take a walk, go on a hike, just move myself somehow. So yeah.
So you mentioned the house in Utah.
Yeah.
I've always wondered what the hell is in Utah.
I know. A lot of people wonder that.
Yeah. So you have a house out there. So let's talk about this.
Okay.
What's in Utah?
So much. Utah is kind of one of those, I feel like for a long time, it was like best kept secret, because most people had the reaction that you did. Honestly, I had that reaction in the beginning. My husband and I, before we were married, we started traveling cross country, like super bare bones types trips, like, eating hot dogs at mini marts and just doing our thing. And the second time we went cross country, it was, I don't even remember what year it was, a long time ago. And we were driving through Southwest, and we ran into Zion National Park, and we're like, what the heck is this? And because we had just come from Grand Canyon, because out there's something called, it's like, I think it's an unofficial name. It's called the Enchanted Circle. So you're basically in this like hot spot of gorgeousness out west. And it's Bryce Canyon, Zion National Park, Grand Canyon. There's some other ones. Four Corners, I think. Bad at geography. And we ran into Zion, and we had just come from Grand Canyon, and we were like, oh my gosh, this is so much better than the Grand Canyon. What is this magical place? And so, Zion is what's in Utah. But the thing about Utah too, is you can literally get in the car, drive from Zion, where you're literally, you're in the valley, you're in the canyon. surrounded by it, get in the car, drive an hour, and then you're in this like expansive, like car commercial style landscape where it's super open. You can see the road ahead of you for 50 miles. So Utah is super varied in terms of the geography, which I find so thrilling and fascinating. So yeah, there's a lot in Utah.
Wow. Yeah, that is, I actually did a Google search before you came.
Okay.
Because, well, I knew about your house in Utah because you told me about it, but I've always, seriously, I'm not even joking. Like, I've always wondered, like, what the hell is in Utah?
Yeah.
Now, it was like you said, I think it was like the best kept secret.
Yes.
But
it's no longer a secret,
yeah,
unfortunately.
not anymore.
Well, not even, this, but when the pandemic hit, our national park system got completely like bludgeoned. That's the perfect word. Like, folks went out, kids were in cyber school. So families realized they had all this flexibility. A lot of parents, lost their jobs, but decided to use their savings to road trip it and take this opportunity. So our national park system got completely overrun. I believe in 2020, like Zion, their attendance, their yearly attendance was like 40 to 50% above normal. And so it's just insane. So the secret's out. Zion's cool.
That's it. Everyone's flocking there now.
Cool for house values. Like we get an email or a call once a week someone trying to buy our house.
Wow.
And we're like, no, that's okay.
So what is it about the hiking that you like so much?
Oh gosh. I haven't always been a hiker. I would usually my husband would hike and I would like stay in the valley and paint. I've been on a health journey recently and I'm at a point now where like I can actually physically do these hikes that I've always watched other people do. And so for me, there's such a thrill now to go explore on foot. I've got my painting stuff on my back, arrive somewhere after, being challenged to hike, 5,000 foot elevation or whatever it might be, and to get there and then to paint it. That's like freaking amazing to me. So that's me. I love to get somewhere, get through the struggle of the getting there, and then capture it with my eye. That's really incredible to me.
So you would go on these hikes.
Yeah.
And then you would just, bring out all the supplies and start painting.
Yeah. I mean,
right
I have a travel pack. So I do travel light with my supplies. So we did Angel's Landing last fall. That was a big deal for me. Like I literally trained for it because it's a 5,000 foot elevation. I believe, I hope I'm getting that right. My husband is probably like going to kick me when he hears this, but Angel's Landing's like a big deal. It's a very dangerous hike. There's like a mile section where you're literally hanging onto chains so you don't fall down and die, So it's very much like a bucket list hike for a lot of people. I pack my backpack and I headed up and I did all the challenging stuff and I literally got to the top of Angel's Landing and you're looking out over the entire Zion Valley. It's like the most incredible view. But you're also on kind of what they call a saddle. It's just a certain way that rock forms. So you imagine what a saddle looks like. There's a kind of a soft curved pinnacle and then it drops down on the side. So you're up there, but you're on a saddle. So it's a little unnerving, but I got up there and caught my breath, had a little snack, and then, found a spot that didn't feel like I was going to fall down and die and painted for 2 hours. And it was really cool because whenever I paint, I draw a crowd not because I'm good, but because people are like, what the hell is she doing? And so then I would have people, they would take my picture, find me on Instagram, because they'd be like, what's your name? Da, da, da. And they'd be like messaging me the next day on Instagram. Hey, you're that girl we saw.
You're that girl painting.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that's me.
Yeah. So what is it about art for you?
Oh my gosh. That is a question. It's a non-negotiable for me. It's like it's like oxygen for me. It's so much a part of me that when I think about, okay, I'm gonna get a little morbid here, but when I think about going blind or having some horrific accident where I can't use my hands, I don't know how to even process that because that's what art is for me. Like, I don't even know how to process that kind of thought. So I don't. Except in like random morbid moments like this one. But it's like oxygen. Yeah. And it's my confidence place. It's a place where I know I can be an authority. And I have not always had, I was the fat girl growing up. I was made fun of. I was self-esteem Sally. I didn't have any, like, this is my power. This is my magic sauce. This is where I can reign high and no one can tell me I'm screwing it up, even when they do tell me I'm screwing it up. Because they do.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that some more a little bit. You said you were picked on a little bit, and now
a lot.
and now you found your thing.
Yeah.
I mean, a while ago, but still.
Yeah. I don't know. This whole journey, and even when I was young, I look back and I'm like, gosh, I was picked on. And I think I was picked on because I let people pick on me. And now I grew older as an adult, and I said that I was on this health journey, right? I mentioned that and I kind of skipped over it. Just from a real perspective, just a general perspective, as I grew older, I became the picture of what people picked on me for. I became even more of a strong picture of that. I gained the weight. I became less powerful in my talent, in my all these things that I do. I didn't believe in myself. And I let that get a hold of me, even though I was running a business all this time, even though literally gained 100 pounds over a decade because I didn't believe in myself. I didn't care. I poured everything I had into my business. I thought, but at the same time, how does that happen? You think you're not good enough. I became very sick. I was hospitalized. All the things, like all the sob story things that you hear sometimes from someone who is kind of inspirational to a group of people, which I know that I am inspirational to a group of people in this world, but I've gone through the shit of it and I've come out the other side. And that all happened, honestly, during the pandemic year. And I feel unstoppable now. And people are like, but wait, you were unstoppable. You started a business, you have 8 employees, you kept them busy you kept them employed full time during a pandemic. You wrote all these books. How were you not unstoppable? Because I didn't feel like I was, but now I feel like I am. And so what question was I answering?
You were talking. I don't even know at this point. Yeah. So how did you get through it? Like, what was the health change?
Yeah.
You said you lost 100 pounds.
Yeah.
And how did you get through all that?
We adopted our son, and I had just come out of my major health issues at that point. I literally almost died, was hospitalized with the issues that I had that basically rendered me unable to have my own children. We don't need to go further than that. Came out of that, immediately went into a full-blown adoption experience. I continued to pack on the pounds from the depression and all that junk that came with being infertile. And then I was a mom running a business and doing all the things I had done before I was a mom, continued to pack on the pounds. Then my daughter came into existence and we're like, okay, we're adopting again. And I was at my heaviest and my lowest and adopting a second child. And I was like, it hurts to live. I got to do something. It hurts to move. It hurts to exist in this body. And I didn't want to hurt anymore. And so I detoxed. I went completely sugarless, flourless, all the things, ate whole foods, completely detoxed for about 9 months. Dropped a ton of weight. My hair fell out. It was crazy. Your body does crazy things when you actually do what's right for it. And then I slowly came back to a more healthy relationship with food. The weight dropped more slowly during the pandemic year, and it took me 2 years. But I detoxed from all the junk mentally and physically and figured out how to have a better relationship with myself and food and movement. And here I am.
Good for you.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
I know it's kind of like unrelated, but for me, it's like so intertwined with what I do, this journey. So
Wow. That's good for you. I'm really happy for you.
thanks.
Yeah. So art for joy's sake. What is that?
Yeah. So, okay. So back to Sean Parker. I told you that year was like so immersive for me. That year was, I kind of lost myself artistically because literally I was like an on-demand, on-call artist for this high-powered person who expected so much of me without having ever met me. And at the end of it all, I felt very empty. I was like, okay, now what? You know, all the temporary people that we had hired went home. And we went back to our normal business schedule, fulfilling weddings and doing all the normal projects. And I hadn't painted for myself in a year. I painted whatever he told me to paint for a year, basically. And this isn't his fault. This is my fault. And so I came out of that experience pretty depressed, pretty lost artistically. You know, us artists, we're kind of annoying. We're an annoying bunch. We're very emotional. and so I succumbed to all that. And so I was like, I don't know how to paint for myself anymore. And so what I did though, is I just powered through, which I do a lot. I powered through and I said, okay, I'm just going to start painting. I'm going to try to paint every day, just whatever comes to mind. I'm going to sit on my couch, whatever. I'm watching TV. I'm going to paint. I'm eating dinner. I'm going to paint. And I did that. And I realized that the joy that I felt in those moments of coming back to my art every day, painting for myself, not for another person, was creating joy. And then I started reading up on the difference between joy and happiness because there's a huge difference, right?
Explain it.
Oh my God. Okay. So joy. Now let me start with happiness because everybody is seeking happiness, right? Stop seeking happiness. Screw happiness. Okay. It's stupid because happiness is based on circumstance, favorable circumstance. Good shit's got to happen for you to feel happy. Got to get a raise, got to get the big job, got to get the promotion. That's the same as a raise, whatever. You got to have the good stuff happening, right? Joy is so much deeper. Joy is like spiritual happiness, whatever your spiritual connection is. Joy is deeper. And so one of my brushes that I designed for Amazon, we talked about that a little bit. I named it the Unshakable Joy brush. Because that's the thing. Art for joy's sake is discovering unshakable joy. So no matter what, you're having a shit week, you just lost a client, someone, God forbid, passes away, you can still tap into this joy that you've learned how to harness, no matter what is going on. So joy is unshakable, happiness is fleeting, and you got to chase after it. Joy just lives there in your gut, and you can tap into it whenever you want.
I love it. So let's talk about those brushes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the brushes. So I started painting with a particular brush, whether it was for wedding work or non, because I got the YouTube channels and all the things just for watercolor. And so I started painting with this particular brush from a particular brand, Royal and Langnickel. It's a mouthful. And I loved it. It was cheap. It had this beautiful shape. It felt like it was doing some of the work for me. And I just started painting with it exclusively, which was weird for me because here I am. I was someone who could afford to buy any brush I wanted. I could spend $200 on a brush, but I was painting with a $3 brush. And I'm like, oh, there's something there because not everyone can paint with a $200 brush. And that's gold when it comes to product development, right? If you can create a brush, a paintbrush that's affordable, but that people only want to paint with that brush, you can reach the masses.
Jackpot.
Boom, right? So I reached out to the company. I'm like, hey, can we white label this brush? Basically, white label is, I'm going to put my name on your brush. You produce it. You get a cut. I get a cut. They ignored me for years. Bum on them. Boo-hoo. So I did not copy their brush. I made it better. And I made a brush that does not exist anywhere in the world. I did that last year during the pandemic. exactly at the time when I shouldn't have been spending money, but I decided to go to China. I know, China. Okay. But I found an amazing family manufacturer there, and they manufactured my brush. They let me design it to spec, and I ordered an inventory, and I sold out in 2 months. I was like, interesting. And I did that on my own, just at KristyRice.com. I'm like, okay, I want to scale this. So I joined a mastermind to learn how to sell on Amazon, because I knew Amazon's like the biggest area of opportunity for folks that design product. It just is. There's a platform on Amazon where Amazon can fulfill your product for you. It's called FBA. So I joined a mastermind to learn how to FBA. And I set a goal. I wanted to launch my product in the summer of this year, and I did it. So I took that one brush, that hero brush from last fall, and I turned it into a set of 6 different brushes that I kind of curated and created this fun little set. I did a lot of research, looked at the market, figured out how many people are buying brush sets on Amazon a month. It's a highly competitive market. Lots of people are buying brush sets on Amazon. A lot of the brush sets were crap, and I knew I could do better. So I entered the market with my brushes mid-August of this year. We sold out of our initial inventory within 2 hours. I had to get more inventory sent, came back in, and I had to reorder my full inventory within 7 days of launch. Because when you're working with China, it's like 2 months. You order, and it's like 2 months until you have product in your hand. So I knew at the velocity, the sales velocity at that point, I knew I got to reorder. So that has been kind of crazy to me, that whole piece of my business. I never imagined being an Amazon brand.
And having your own line of brushes.
Yeah. And so I'm actually I have my own watercolor palette coming out in January on Amazon. So
really
product
cool.
number 2.
So each one of those brushes has a saying on it, right?
It does.
You want to read them?
Yeah, sure. So of course, unshakable joy. We got to start there, right?
Of course.
We've got the forget rules brush, because one of my mantras is forget rules, forget right, remember joy. I'm a big rule breaker. Art for joy's sake, watercolor curious, the happy painting brush, and the remember joy brush, of course.
Why are you a big rule breaker?
Oh.
I love rule breakers. That's why I'm asking.
Even in my lowest, we've talked a little bit about my lowest, I always felt confident in my skills, in my painting skills. And I never, ever, I learned the rules of painting very early on. But just as quickly as I learn a rule, I also figure out when it's time to break it. And that just makes me feel powerful. Even at my lowest, that was always something I could go to. I could tap into that power. I could tap into that joy before I even knew what it was. And so rule breaking for me is a way to stay inspired. And I also saw something happening in the art world. Watercolor, especially during the pandemic, it blew up. Sales of anything that had to do with making watercolor, because people were bored. They didn't know what to do with themselves. So hobbies were being taken up left and right across the world. And watercolor, Reese Witherspoon picked up watercolor during the pandemic, and a bunch of other celebrities did as well. But I saw something happening that people are like, okay, I got to figure this out. I got to get the perfect setup. I got to get the perfect brush. I got to get it just right before I even put brush to paper. And I'm like, oh, hell no. I want you to sit down, grab whatever's in front of you, and just get to it. And so I want to create a sense with my rule breaking. I think it's more about immediacy and being actionable, knowing you need joy, knowing you can tap into it quickly, and teaching people how to do that instead of letting them get caught up in the whole, how should I, when should I, how can I, oh, this isn't perfect. No. And so for me, rule breaking is about really giving people freedom to find their joy.
And do you teach people how to do this?
Yeah.
Where?
So I do one-on-one classes. I'm not cheap. But I do Zoom classes. So I've done I've worked with Misericordia a lot locally. during the pandemic. We did Zoom watercolor stuff. That was super fun. I'm actually doing my first in-person class with them in November, which is so exciting. But I do teach online as well. I did a Zoom class with a assisted living in North Carolina. That was a freaking riot. Those women had me laughing the entire time. But then I also teach on YouTube. So I do have a YouTube channel. I've had it for years. When things got really crazy with the wedding business, I abandoned that channel just when it was exploding like an idiot. But I relaunched it about 3 months ago. And so I've been really serious about that. And then TikTok. And last but not least, TikTok.
This is where you're known, right, as the Bob Ross of watercolor.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. That's where people started referring to me as the Bob Ross of watercolor. I have created such an incredible community there. It's taken on a life of its own. I'm kind of like the unofficial welcome wagon for watercolor TikTok. And so a lot happens there. It's short form video content, but it's so robust. It's such a good place to be as a business owner. So let's talk a little bit about these books. I mean, author, what, how many? 10, 11 now? 10. Yeah. So there's actually 10 books that you can buy. I just signed a contract. I have a great publisher. It's Schiffer Publishing. They're in Pennsylvania. They're a small, I don't know what you want to call, I guess, private run, publisher. They're amazing. And literally I can go to them. And I did just that. I went to them about 3 weeks ago. I'm like, I have this idea, but it's really timely and it's really trendy. So if you don't want to do it now, then I don't think we should do it at all. And they're like, okay, let's do it. And literally the contract was on my doorstep 2 days later. So I have my 11th book manuscript that's due in 3 weeks. I'm insane.
You are insane.
Happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what are these books? Explain them.
Yeah. So 9 of my 10 books are watercolor. I call them creative empowerment books, honestly. I'm creating my own genre. Because essentially my first 7 books were all about watercoloring for okay, let me rewind. You know the coloring book thing that happened a couple of years ago that people are like, what the hell was that? That I think her name was Johanna Basford, and she blew up because she brought back coloring to adults. Well, about a year after she exploded, I was like, wait a minute, there needs to be watercoloring books for adults. And so I created the world's first watercoloring book for adults. And then I did it 7 times.
Did you say world's first?
Yeah, it was the world's first.
That's awesome.
Yeah, by about 8 months.
Wow.
Someone tailed me.
They tried
pretty quickly, but I was the first.
It's so cool. Right here
in
northeastern Pennsylvania.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's 9 of my 10 books. Oh, so we did the watercoloring books, and then I evolved. I created the Art for Joy's Sake journal. That was my first hardcover book, which was super exciting. And that was still some watercoloring where I would, the pages were basically finished artwork. You do the watercoloring. You don't have to draw anything. But the Art for Joy's Sake journal also had a lot of exercises, how to stay creative. There are recipes in that one. So you can have painting parties, and it's a little bit more robust. And then my most recent book, which came out in July, is How to Make Art for Joy's Sake Free-Spirited Watercolor. And this is my first legit how-to book. It's very robust. It's very in-depth. You buy that book and you basically aren't going to have a life for about 1.5 years.
So someone like me I'm not very artistic. Someone like me can learn to do this?
You could. Absolutely. I have a video on my YouTube channel, and it is learn how to paint watercolor in 5 minutes. And that's for someone who's never painted before.
All right, so someone can learn for free, because before
Yes.
you said, you do some paid teaching.
Sure.
However, you probably have tons of free content out there.
Hundreds of videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Oh my gosh. So I started a YouTube channel just because I was like, well, this is a cool thing to do. I didn't even know at that point that you could monetize your channel and get paid once you got to a certain level. So I just started it because it was cool. I did all my own editing, and I basically would just sit down. I didn't even show my face. I would sit down, I would paint in one of my books, or I would show people, okay, we're going to paint plums and roses today. And I would do a voiceover later and just talk through what I was doing. And it exploded. One of my videos has like 125,000 views, which is really good for an art channel on YouTube. So, and then I guess I was an idiot and I abandoned my channel, but now I'm back at it. It's incredible. Now that I'm more confident, now that I've really stepped into my power, as I mentioned earlier, I'm so cheesy. I show my face now. My personality is like front and center. I still paint and talk and instruct, but I'm uploading twice a week now consistently. And it is the most incredible experience to connect with these people, to be told like, hey, Kristy, you are painting in a way that I've always felt like I wanted to paint in, but no one ever gave me permission to. I have had nurses, doctors, EMTs reach out to me like, I hope I don't cry because legit, I've cried on TikTok about it. Reach out to me like, Kristy, you got me through the pandemic. I picked up watercolor randomly and it was an outlet for me in all of that madness. And so watercolor has the ability, there's something so visceral about it for anyone. You just have to be curious enough. There's something about the colors exploding on the paper. It lives on the page, and that is so energizing. It's literally like a breath of fresh air. So you know how you feel when you do the deep breathing, right? You can immediately feel more clear. You can feel that by putting brush to paper. And that's what my YouTube channel is about. Distilling that moment for people and teaching them how to get beyond the fear, how to get beyond the compulsion to be perfect all the time, get it right all the time. My channel, the way I teach, my mission in life, above all, is to help people find that joy and that freedom. So, yeah. Tangent.
Love it.
Squirrel.
Yeah. Whoa, what was that?
Yeah.
And one other thing we didn't even touch on that's on the table here, it's been on the table this whole time, is this wallpaper.
Yeah.
What's up with the wallpaper?
Yeah. I just never stop trying things. I fail a lot. So way back when I started offering wallpaper, I still do. You go to KristyRice.com, you can order wallpaper samples. But I do now, I kind of formally do stuff like wallpaper, home goods through an art rep. So I have an art rep who basically farms me out to brands who want to put art on stuff. And they manage all of that, and I get paid a royalty. And so, I basically have art on anything you can imagine. I've been in Home Goods, Marshalls, TJ Maxx, Michaels, Bed Bath & Beyond. Target has products. Overstock.com buys my artwork to put on products that they claim are like overstock, but they're not. They're new. I don't know what they do. They're weird. I have brands that are on Amazon that license my artwork and sell canvases with my art on them. So, yeah.
Hold on. Can we take a minute to talk about the fact that you just named all those retailers, some of them that you used to work for, that now sell your product?
Yeah, isn't that weird? So weird.
The irony of that.
Yeah, crazy.
That is crazy.
I know.
Did you ever think about that?
Oh, hell no. Never in a million years.
That's crazy.
I always say, I say this a lot in podcasts and interviews that I've done. When I started out in wedding invitations, I wanted to be like the go-to in Northeastern Pennsylvania. I wanted to be a household name, in Northeastern Pennsylvania. And what ended up happening, it just happened because I really like to work hard, I guess, is that I became an industry leader worldwide. I'm not saying I'm a household name for wedding invitations worldwide, but I am so out there. I've been in every wedding magazine. I've been in a lot of lifestyle magazines. I literally have like people at marthastewart.com that I can just reach out to and be like, hey, here's my son's crazy first birthday pictures. Do you want to feature them? They're like, yeah. I'm really nosy. I'm really, I like to be in everything. And so I just find myself in these situations and I never say no to myself, especially now. And I think that has allowed me to like dabble and do a lot of things. But did I ever dream any of this? No, because a lot of it has happened very organically.
Well, you're like the real deal.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to have this wallpaper. I'm going to wallpaper the studio here.
I got to be honest. Like, I have this, my team at the studio, they know this. Like, I've got this, like this insecurity still that lingers because I'm a hometown girl. I grew up in Trucksville, for the love. You know, I came back. I lived in the Hudson Valley. I came back here to make a life. And like, nobody in NEPA knows about me. You know, it's crazy.
So let's talk about that for a second. So you came back.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Well, my husband worked for IBM. He still does. At a time when teams were not global. And we have family. I mean, his dad is still alive. My parents watch our kids. We have like literally, you know, childhood friends that are here. And we lived for years apart from all of that and always just felt like we wanted to be home. We would travel home on the weekends. I mean, we had a beautiful life in the Hudson Valley. We renovated a turn of the century home. We did all the fancy things, but we just wanted to be home. And so in 2008, he started talking to his bosses and he was like, okay, I want to work remotely. How can we make that happen? And that was before that really was a thing. Now it's like just normal. And so we took a leap. We put an offer in on a house at that point, right of first refusal because we had another house to sell. And then 9/11 happened and it derailed us for a little bit. But eventually, you know, after the emotional smoke cleared of 9/11 and being so close to the city during all that and having lost people on our street that, you know, because we lived in Poughkeepsie. It was a commuter town. So, you know, our lives just imploded at that point. But once that emotional dust settled, we still just wanted to be home, even more so at that point. We're like, we got to go home. And so my husband presented it to IBM as like, this is what I'm doing. Help me make this happen or I'm going somewhere else. And so we came home and we built a house in his parents' field, you know, and the rest is history.
That's it.
Yeah.
Now we got this wallpaper on my podcast studio table. Yeah. So what's next for Kristy?
Oh my gosh. I have no idea. You know, Momental Designs is like a well-oiled machine, the wedding business. And, you know, we're redesigning a new site. We're simplifying it, but making it cooler. You know, we're doing all the normal stuff that businesses do. We're heading into our 20th year there.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That's insane, right?
20 years.
20 years. And I always said, I just want to get to 20 years because then I'll be the cool, like, veteran, you know? But now that we're approaching that, I just want to keep going. I want to get to 40 years, you know? So Momental, you know, we're still in recovery mode. 2022 is poised to be the biggest year of weddings globally since I think it's 1984. So we're just holding on for dear life there. I'm writing my next book. I have 2 more products in the pipeline for Amazon.
Are they a secret?
No, nothing's a secret. Not with me. So I have a watercolor palette that I've been developing. These particular these colors exist nowhere else in the world. So I've been creating custom pigments with my manufacturer, which is really exciting. And the cool tin that they come in is going to have my artwork on it, of course. And then I'm also developing a journal. So it's a watercolor journal, like a sketchbook, basically, but it's going to be filled with prompt pages. So it's going to be a lot of blank pages, but some prompts for creativity and really cool paper. So it's going to be a watercolor journal with black watercolor paper, colored watercolor paper, of course, white, super duper like handmade watercolor paper, lunch bag, you know, craft watercolor paper. So, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Awesome. And I know we already mentioned a couple of the channels, but before we end, how can our listeners learn more about you online and engage with you on social media? I mean, I know you're a little bit everywhere, but give it a little plug.
Yeah. So, okay, wedding stuff. Momentaldesigns.com. It's the word moment with an AL, designs.com. Easy. Instagram @Momental. TikTok, the Momentals. Watercolor stuff. Just Google Kristy Rice for the love. I dominate.
KristyRice.com.
Yeah, KristyRice.com. TikTok, I'm Kristy the Painter. Instagram, the same. Yeah. So find me, say hello. Let's have a chat.
Yeah, awesome. And people can just learn a little bit of how to do watercolor just by going on your YouTube channel, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. I got to do it myself.
Do it.
I'm going to do something.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
I'm going to make you. I'm going to hold you accountable for your joy.
I will. By the time this episode comes out, I think I'll have something.
Okay.
It's not going to be good, but
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, but I'll do it.
Okay.
All right. Well, this was super cool. It was really great to learn more about you, and I'm speechless at your talent and your creativity.
Thank you.
Yeah, seriously. It's really cool stuff. I appreciate, because I'm not that artistic. So I have a great appreciation for people that are.
Well, appreciation is the precursor to curiosity.
Ooh.
And curiosity is all you need
you know where this is
to
going.
get your paint on.
That's it. I'm doing it. This is it. I'm going to become a professional watercolor painter. That's even the right word. I don't even know.
That is,
okay.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I said it. It's here. Can't take it back.
Nope.
All right. Kristy Rice on the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door Studio. Thanks for joining me. If you'd like to learn more about the On the Stacks podcast, be sure to search the hashtag #OnTheStacks on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. We'll catch you next time on The Stacks.